your patience, everyone.
Thanks everybody for being so patient. So the reason for this call, I felt it was really, really necessary for a lot of reasons. You know, many of us are coming off that high of,
30279.
Many of us are coming off that high of celebration, and a lot of times we get excited and then we get home to reality, and you know, somebody takes the wind out of our sail, or we allow them to take the wind out of our sail, or you know, things just don't go as we plan, or you know, you come home to a spouse, it's like, what can I drink because I'm not drinking the same Kool-Aid. And you know, I think it's crucial in this 90-day plan that we keep the main thing. We stay focused on why we do this. This isn't about us, as we know. And you know, David Wood is a legend in my book. He's taught me so much in the 3 years I've been with Isagenix, and he's really helped me grow as a human being and as a leader. He's helped me grow as a parent and as a woman, and it's an honor to have him as my friend and as a mentor in this business and in life, to be honest with you. He's been through a lot. He's done a lot in his life. I could go through all of his amazing things. He is the trainer's trainer. He is developing world-class professionals in personal development and training programs. I know most of the people on this call are from our team, and they have been to a University in Action. As you guys know, is my favorite event out of all of the Core 4. I think it's the most powerful, impactful. He works with thousands of trainers all over the globe. But what I love most about David is his heart of service, his positive attitude. I remember, and I don't know if you know this story, David, it was my very first celebration, and I was only 3 months in the company, and it was in Vegas, which for me at the time was a really rocky area for me to be in. I was brand new sober, brand new in this business, and it was just weird. And I will never forget, I had one person with me, and we were walking through the halls somewhere, and David comes popping out of this little store, and just like he knew me his whole life, hey, how you doing? Hugs you, kisses you. Like when he says that on stage, that's how he operates through his life. I saw that early on, long before anybody knew who I was, long before any of this amazing, any of you showed up. He was so congruent in how he is in every aspect of his life in that moment. And that's a big part of why I knew I was in the right place. It's a big part of why I listen to what he says, because he does what he says he's going to do. He walks the box in every area of his life. And it's such an honor, David, for you to be here. We're going to talk a lot about, in the next 30 minutes, mostly about personal development. I mean, he's the king of it. He's done a lot of personal development on himself. What I have found for a lot of people, you know, one of the things when we come to Isagenix, we all of a sudden have this personal development program tied to a compensation plan. And what I notice a lot of people doing is throwing themselves in the personal development. It's fun to grow yourself, but then a lot of you are afraid to take action and move through the fear and the doubt and the stinking thinking that's going in your head. So we're going to really talk about, you know, taking this personal development and whatever that looks like for you, and then taking it to action, because the best way to personally develop yourself is work it in tandem, messy and ugly, and just figuring it out as you go. So David, thank you.
Well, thank you. Thanks for your patience. And look at people streaming on. I can hear the bells ringing. I feel like I'm at church.
I think there's a way to shut that off, isn't there? I don't know.
Oh,
yeah, there, I got it off. So we're done.
Okay. And I just want to say, I can see everyone, Sarah and Heather and Paul and Sarah again, Melissa, I'm just Margaret, Peggy, as I go through Nicole. I'm not going to go to everyone, but Laura, I just want you to know that I can see you, and I want to make sure you understand what I love this medium is, because really it is about a connection. It's not just me talking at you. It really is about, you know, having a connection. But Tracy, you know, when you said what you talked about, I mean, you said a lot of things in a very short space of time there, but this idea of where you were at when you were at that celebration, that you were, you know, just sober in Vegas with one person. And, you know, and you had the dream that a lot of people on this Zoom call, on this training, have. And that idea, you know, when you speak, it's very, very easy to sort of be, I think, to listen to someone and not put ourselves in the conversation. And I think what's really important about today is to actually allow yourself to get in the conversation. It doesn't matter where you're at, what confidence level you're at. It doesn't matter what's going on in your life. It doesn't matter, you know, if you're in a deep, dark hole or if you're climbing out of it, or whether your life is just amazing. It doesn't matter where you're at. There's always another level, and it's not about striving for another level. It's about creating something amazing. It's about designing a life that you really deserve. And I think every single person deserves a life, but we all have a different journey to get there. And Tracy had a very, very hard journey. My journey's been very, very interesting, and we can probably go into some of that. But I really want you to sort of not be a spectator today. I want you to bring your whole body into your mind, your focus, your heart and soul into this. So as you listen to it, you really ask yourself some deeper questions about, you know, what is the life you're ready to design? And what speed do you want to design it at? Because that's the other thing. You get to choose the speed. And what Tracy just talked about was this idea about, you know, using personal development as a benchmark. And here's what we all know. And Tracy, you know this, I know this, is the results that you're getting currently are telling you everything about what's going on inside. So if you're having staggering results in your business right now, that's telling you exactly what's going on, that you're in alignment, that you're congruent, that you're attracting the right type of people because you're being the right kind of person. If your relationships with people around you are on fire and you find it easy and flowing and honest, and you feel like you can completely be authentic, that's a result that tells you exactly how you're showing up on the inside, because our relationships are just a reflection of what we're thinking moment by moment. Our bank account is another result. You know, our weight is a result. Our health is a result. So I really think it's important just to sort of take a moment as you're sitting here and look at the results in your life in those key areas, your relationships, your finances, your business, your health, and just look at them and say, how are my results? You know, do I have lots of great friends in my life? You know, is my income constantly growing and evolving and emerging? Do I feel like I'm in control at the steering wheel of my life, or do I feel like life's pushing me around, but I'm just sort of surviving or struggling, which a lot of people are. There's a lot of people on this call, you know, there's too much month at the end of the money. So I just want to urge us all to really get here and just say, to be honest with ourselves. You don't have to declare it to everyone, but once that level of honesty, the first step of real change is awareness. And when we're aware of the real truth, then we can start to say, well, if this is the real truth right now, it's not about beating ourselves up with the truth. It's about being aware. Tracy became very aware about her addiction, about where her life was at. Her relationship was awful. I mean, she lost everything. So her whole life was just catastrophic at one point. That awareness, she said, hey, I'm going to make a change. And that's when she stepped into not only changing her physical body, changing her mental mindset toward life, but also then putting it all into a business where she was able to see these results. So Tracy, I just want to say congratulations and thank you for being who you are. You know how I feel about you. I'm totally in love with you. I totally respect you. I totally love your authenticity. And I think that everyone who's around you in your orbit gets to benefit from that power as well.
Thank you. And you know, we talk about what you just said. You know, every aspect of your life is a direct relation to what kind of growth you have going on. You say, oh, you can only grow then you grow yourself. And you can only grow your business to the extent you grow yourself. And, you know, how you do anything is how you do everything. You know, how I show up as a parent is how I show up in my business, is how I show up at the grocery store, is how I show up, you know, at Little League games, is how I show up in everything I do. And in all areas of my life, quite honestly, I'm having amazing growth. And it is a direct result of, you know, I'm growing myself every day, and not just by plugging into a podcast or plugging into an event or plugging into whatever. It's actually applying what I'm learning and moving through that, even though I'm scared, even though it's uncomfortable. And so, you know, the first time I heard you can only grow your business to the extent you grow yourself was actually from you, David. And it is so, so true. And I know that you see this a lot, the same people at events, opening up their notebooks, writing down the notes, you know, crying with each other. And then the event ends, they close the book, And if we checked into their business center, 6 months later, has it grown? And one of the things that you and I talked about with the events is, my first year and a half in Isogenics, where I really closely tracked it, is every single time I was at an event, then between the next event, there was massive growth. And that was because I was growing myself, taking what I learned and applying it and moving into action. So when you say grow your business to the extent you grow yourself, for those of the people on the call, I know most of them have probably heard that. Like, what does that really, really mean? Because people think coming to an event is growing yourself. People think that, listening to a podcast is growing themselves, which it's good stuff going in. However, what do they really need?
I think that what happens is, you'll always see me training on a comfort zone, right? We all have a comfort zone. And it's why, we are incredible creatures of habit. And a lot of you, have a favorite chair that you sit in when you eat. A lot of you have a favorite hairdresser you go to every month. A lot of you, we just become habitual. And so we have these habits. And so success is a habit. And non-success is a habit. So a lot of us have spent a lifetime behaving a certain way, going to a job, and there's nothing wrong with a job, by the way, but often that job is limited. I always try and think, picture a number over your head. So picture a bubble over your head. In that bubble is a number. And that's the number that you're willing to trade time for. And the way to get hold of that number is simply look back over the last 5 or 10 years. Look at your average income over the last 5 to 10 years. So if you had a bumper year one year and a slow year one year, if you're on commissions, but if you have a job and you're a teacher, there's a good chance that you're going to earn between $60,000 and $80,000 a year. Well, that's the number above your head. That's the number that you have been conditioned to trade your time for. And so what I want to challenge you is that I didn't realize that I had control of the number. But I had to physically, and this is what Tracy keeps alluding to, I can learn something, or I can put things into action, or I can do both. I can go into massive action and not keep growing myself and get results that aren't great. And some people get trapped in that. They'll come in, they'll do a lot of work, but they won't work on growing the skill sets or the mindset necessary to have massive success. So they don't get the results they want. They just keep doing the same thing over and over again. But results are the clue, right? Or you get people that will actually do a lot of, they'll absorb a lot, but then the habit isn't the habit of changing your financial blueprint. The habit isn't about building success. So we sort of slip back into the old habits of getting up, doing the same thing over and over and over again and getting the same result. And here's the thing that most people don't get. This is, it's not that it's hard, but it is hard. It's network marketing. We have to work at it, and there's a process. And it's very, very easy for us to compare our beginning to someone else's middle, right? But Tracy was a rock bottom, and I want to use her as an example because she grew very, very fast. That is not common. We hear a lot of stories of people that grew fast, but that was a choice. She hit bottom and she was going to do everything in her power to stay outside of her comfort zone. Remember, she's still fighting addiction at this point. Everything in her body wants to go back to the life she had. That was the habit. She needed to rip herself away from the old habit and focus her energy on a new habit, which meant it was messy in the beginning. And this is what a lot of people don't get. Your business is going to be messy in the beginning. You are going to have people come and go. You're going to have people that say yes that don't do anything. You're going to have people that start building and leave. You're going to have all these ups and downs and peaks and valleys that every single person goes through. But often we don't understand that. So if we really want to challenge the number, if we want to see where we're really at, then once we come from an event, all we've got to do is get ourselves outside our comfort zone. And whether you choose to speak, it doesn't have to be that you speak to 3 people every day, but you may decide that I am ready now. Tracy was ready now to change her life. The only thing she did was continue to grow herself, put herself into a new environment, and continually take a different type of action that she'd taken ever before. And that action was giving her feedback. That feedback was telling her whether she was good at something, whether it was working or not. And if she was getting bad results, she was making an adjustment. She kept using events, and this is why I think I love about Tracy's build. She let the events build her people. A lot of you have been to the University in Action or to the university or to New Year's kickoff or celebration. Those events are doing a job about casting a vision, building new skill set. But when we get home, it's so easy to be back in our comfy chair and to sort of go back into the habit of, this is what I do, this is how I live my life. And then we get crappy results. And when we get crappy results, we start feeling crappy. And then we stop doing the actions that we need to take in order to get the life we want. And we all deserve, and everyone on this call deserves an amazing life. And it doesn't mean you have to earn over $100,000 a month like Tracy. For some of you, it's just replacing your current income. $3,000 to $5,000 a month would completely, radically change your current lifestyle. So how do you get there? It's an action. But when we look at the process of manifestation, we look at our thoughts lead to our feelings, lead to our actions, lead to our results. Our results are the feedback from the universe, but our actions are what gets the results. How we feel is what we take action on, and what we're thinking about is really going to govern how we feel. So we have to go back to our environment, to our thinking, our feeling, and action. And what stops most people taking action is fear. And here's the beauty. When you look at the definition of the word fear, it's not, most people think it's, false evidence appearing real, but actually the definition of the word fear is the anticipation of pain. So most of us don't take action because we're anticipating pain. We're anticipating rejection. We're anticipating it not going well. So where is the word anticipation? Is it a past word? Is it a current word? Or is it a future word? It's a future word. I'm anticipating. So our fear is things we make up. All the fear is just in our mind. So what we have to understand is we're going to feel fear, and we're going to have to take action. In other words, the fear is not going to go first. So we can't sit there and suddenly we're not fearful anymore. In the beginning, because it's new, we're going to feel some fear. And in the fear, we take the action. In the action, we get the results. Now, if the results aren't what we want, we have to make some adjustments to the action we're taking. And as we start to adjust and learn and keep going to events and building new skills, we're going to find that suddenly we're going to start taking actions that will get the results we want. And that is it. Every single person who ever has built this business in Isogenics or any other place in the world, any other company, has to go through the same process, Tracy.
Well, it's interesting, in order to have something different that I had going on in my life, and you've alluded to how crappy it was, and it really was crappy, like beyond crappy in the beginning. And actually, it started like that desire to have something different brewed about 6 months before Isogenics even fell into my lap. It was sitting on an airplane crying because I had to take time off to be with my dad, who was dying, like within days of finding out he was diagnosed with cancer. And I'll never forget sitting on that airplane crying and angry, saying I was never going to be in this position again, where I had to ask for time off, where I was going to take a massive cut in pay in order to grieve, to do the things that we should naturally be able to do when something in crisis happens. And so like it was brewing then, and then, obviously things got a little worse after my dad died. But when Isogenics came in and I started, about a week in, realizing that this was in my life for something much bigger than me. And it was going to take this introvert a lot to completely step out of my comfort zone, because my best thinking had gotten me into some pretty crappy places, and my best thinking got me to rock bottom. So, okay, so obviously I need to completely change my habits, completely change my mindset, and be really, really, really okay with being uncomfortable and messy. And so I did use the beautiful compensation plan, and I was messy. And you know what? That was really, really good, because I was relatable. People trusted me because they're like, wow, if she's willing to be this messy, then I can do that too. And I know that you had experiences in your life. You didn't just wake up and you're born David T.S. Wood, the trainer's trainer. You had some crap too that you had to bust through your comfort zones. And if you wanted something different, you needed to do something different. What did that look like for you?
Well, this is a great question, because people often ask me, because it's not like when you wake up and you're kind of more, and again, I've never wanted to be a public figure. It's not like some people crave this. I don't feel that way. Like I don't want to be Tony Robbins, and I don't want to be famous. That's not my gig at all. Nothing about that excites me. However, I do want to live a life of purpose. And I realize that for me to live a life on purpose, I have to, or I choose to, I don't have to do anything. I choose to put myself into the public domain, and I choose to create programs that I feel will help transform people's lives. And the reason for that is because when I started doing personal development, what got me going was I started to hear the same poison coming out of my mouth to my oldest son that I'd heard from my parents. And I grew up in a very, very harsh environment. And again, by Western standards, we really experienced poverty. We lived in a condemned building. People were shot there. I mean, my sister used to put perfume on her handkerchief just to be able to walk up the stairs because the smell was so rancid. And this isn't a sob story. It's just an understanding that I grew up in a world by Western standards. We had no fridge. One of the rooms was actually, we couldn't go in there. It was human feces all over the walls. I mean, we lived in a really, really rough part of the East End of London in a time, again, I'm 55, but at a time where there was a lot of poverty in our country at that time. So, for me, when I heard the poison coming out of my mouth that sounded like my mom and sounded like my father at my son, I realized that I wanted to change. So I got into personal development, not to build a business. I didn't get into it for money. I got into it because deep down in the soul that I had, my soul, I was unhappy. And I was hiding. I was afraid. I was afraid to be myself. I was afraid to be authentic. I didn't even know how to tell the truth. And there's a study that just came out that shows that the average person, if we all consider ourselves to be average on this call, I'm not average by who we are, I'm talking about the normal people. In a 10-minute conversation, will tell 3 lies. In a 10-minute conversation. So most of us, most people listening right now will tell lies on a constant basis. Young people, they lie because they want freedom. Old people, you bunch, right? Older people lie because they want to fit in. And so they're small lies. I hear the lie in my head before I tell the truth. I can hear a lie coming. Like, for example, I was on a call with Kathy Coover and I missed it because I overslept. Now, I never oversleep, right? But I could phone her or I could text her and I could lie to her or I could say, hey, Kathy, sorry, I overslept, right? The power I have when I tell the absolute truth is unbelievable. And I'm the only one that understands how powerful that is, to be able to be so honest all the time with everyone. But it took me 44 years to learn how to tell the truth. 44 years. I mean, my mom still had this thing called white lies were okay. Little white lies are okay. I was told, how many, wave your hand if you were ever told that a white lie was okay. Or there was a thing called a white lie, right? Like there's a good lie and a bad lie. So the thing about this journey, it's about authenticity. So I looked at myself, I heard the poison coming out of my mouth. I thought, this is not who I want to be. I do not want to be this kind of father. So I got into personal development as a way of changing who I was inside so I could become a better father. And it led to when I went to a T. Harv Eker program called Warrior Camp, which is an extreme boot camp, fire walks and ropes courses, this Tarzan thing. And halfway through the second day, I looked at my wife at the time and I said, hey, I'm going to teach this program. Because they say the 2 most important days are the day you're born, the day you discover why. And I found a calling. And like Tracy right now, this isn't about money for Tracy. This is about a calling. This is about contribution. If you read all of her posts, it's always about blessing someone's life. It's about giving back. It's about contributing. And when we can wake up in the morning and we can start to contribute and we can start to live a life of purpose, when we can get out of the rat race, that's sort of the spinning wheel, and we can take a breath and we can say, look, what is the life I am going to choose to design? And in that decision, it's going to be messy. It's going to be hard. Everything's going to be new. I did 13 personal development programs, and I did them really almost back to back. But I had the money to be able to take a year off and really work on myself. So for me, personal development became a springboard. What I did, though, unlike anyone else, there was a lot of people that wanted to train with T. Harv Eker. A lot. Around the time, there had to be 30 or 40. The thing I did, every waking hour, I was practicing. I was putting myself on video. I was putting myself on stage. I was focused singularly on the life I wanted to create. And so, Tracy, what I did differently, and I was a volunteer. I would run microphones. I would run papers. All I wanted to do was be in the environment, but taking massive action. I was modeling. I was watching. I was listening. And I was constantly changing the conversation in my head so that one day I just woke up and suddenly people started saying, this is Dave Wood, the trainer. Well, before I was just Dave Wood, and now suddenly I had this new mantle, but the mantle came from massive action, from the environment, and from a decision. And that's what some of us on the call are going to make today, is a decision to say, guess what? I just have to get off my ass, and you don't have to work. Oh, sorry, I saw a child there if I'm swearing. But I just have to get off my butt, and I just have to decide today that I'm going to start doing things differently than I've ever done. Because if I want something different, I got to do something different. And there's no magic formula, because every single one of us have the same tools. We have the same back office. We have the same, you have an amazing leader in Tracy, and you have leaders all over the company that are willing to help and grow you. The only difference is that you got to make the choice and say, hey, I'm in a life redesign, and I take action every single day that's different from what I used to take. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It can be a small amount of action if you want to go slowly, or if you want to go fast, it has to be a massive amount of action. And then you just got to look at your speed. But don't compare your speed to Tracy's. Don't look at your business and say, well, I've been around as long as Tracy. Tracy's had 3,000 or 4,000 conversations, and most of you haven't yet. That's the only difference. And when you have the conversations in the beginning, they're crappy, and then they get better and better and better and better and better with the practice, with the immersion, and suddenly, oh my God, Tracy's now a professional network marketer. How did that happen? She was a drunk and a drug addict just recently, and now look at her. She's changing lives, making over 100. What's your highest month to date, Trace?
128.
$128,000 in a month? Who do you have to become to own that kind of money? Who, right? And studies show, excuse me, my passion here, because if I can get into one of your heads right now, it's like, oh my God, I just want to wake up. If I want to change my life, I can. That's the thing. You can. There's a magic wand. Here it is. I threw it at you. You have it. You have everything anyone else has. And your story is no different from anyone else. It doesn't matter where you're at in confidence level. It doesn't matter what mistakes you've made. It doesn't matter if you've been in prison. It doesn't matter if you have dark thoughts all the time. It doesn't matter if you're addicted to anything. It doesn't matter. You can, in this environment, completely and radically change your life, but it has to come in the actions you take. And the immersion, surrounding yourself with people like us who talk like this, people who give each other permission to lead extraordinary lives, who give us each other permission to have whatever you want, but you can't get it sitting on your butt. You can. You have to get up. You have to try. So instead of having 100 conversations, have 1,000 conversations. Set that goal. I'm going to have 1,000 conversations. And if you want to go fast, go fast. But if you're going to go slow, don't worry. We're going to love you. You go as slow as you want. But don't compare your speed to Tracy's. Don't ever do that, because she ain't going slow. She's just getting started. Right, Tracy?
Correct. And you tapped on so much in that little block there, and I swear we're like clones in a lot of ways, because it was about 4 years ago that I was repeating things to my kids that weren't so great for me. And, I could see the look in their eyes shift when that was happening. And that was the beginning of, okay, I'm going to break this pattern now, today, no matter what that takes. And, it was so beautiful to see you and your son, Ben, and me and my children at Celebration. And not just because of all the hype that is Celebration, but they were so immersed, and they saw, I could see it in Ben's eyes, and I definitely saw it in Casey and Joey's eyes, just the gratitude that they had for you as a parent, for me as a parent, to say, wow, they decided at any time their story was not going to end the way that it started to be written. And look at the influence and massive impact they're making on people just by being completely who they are every day, by showing up, by being vulnerable, by making the freaking decision that we are not going to go back there anymore. We're not going to do that. And I think that's where a lot of people on this call, like, they see me, they see you, they see other people, and they, in their mind, say, yeah, I'm going to make this decision, but their actions don't back up that decision that they're making in their head. And then they start to self-loathe, they isolate, they self-sabotage, they do all this other crap that doesn't serve anybody, including themselves. So what advice would you give for those? I know that you made the decision and you were like, this is it, I'm going to immerse myself. I made the decision I was going to spend every waking moment figuring out how to change my habits and patterns in order to move forward and move forward fast. What advice would you give to the people on here? Because I know many of them, and I know many of their stories, I know many of their whys, and I know what a lot of them have told me, and that their actions aren't always backing up what they want. So what advice would you give when it comes to making that decision, but then being non-negotiable, unshakable in that decision, putting the blinders on, putting your head down and doing the freaking work? What advice would you give to them? Because I know
For those of you, and I want to distinguish between those of you that are ready for that conversation and those of you that aren't. If you're still sitting on the other side of the fence right now and you're like, well, you know, you can't hear this yet, you can't hear the idea that you can change your life, it's okay to be in that place. So again, I want to give you permission to stay on that side if you want. Maybe this call is what's going to take for you to decide to open the freaking gate. You don't even have to climb the gate. You just have to open the door. It's there. We all have that possibility. You know, I think, you know, the one thing that I think everyone needs to understand, I think you hear it all the time, is that the story that you have and the life that you're living right now, it's all made up. We make it up, right? And the twists and turns of your life and everything that's ever happened to you from the day you were born, you know, the environment that you've been in is exactly why you earn the money you earn and you do what you do. You know, if I had plucked you away from your parents when you were a little tiny child and put you in a different country, anywhere in the world, you'd be speaking that language. You'd be thinking like you say, hey, I'm Russian, even though you grew up in America. And I've seen this. You know, I dated a girl that was adopted at birth from Guatemala, and she was raised as an American. Guess what? She was an American. When I met her, she wasn't Guatemalan. She was American, but her environment determined exactly how she thought, what she thought about, you know, the amount of money that she made. And so I think the understanding that you really are the creator of your life, and that so far you've created it sometimes because, you know, we just get up, go to school. We have people who tell us what to think at school for, you know, 13 years or 14 years. Then we go to university, and well, some of us, I didn't, but you go to university, you get told, then you get a job and people tell you what to do. So we go through life just being told what the hell to do, and we keep doing it over and over and over again. And I think the idea that this is a hard thing for someone who's come from an employee mindset into an entrepreneurial mindset is the idea that you really do have control, and that you're the author of this story that you're writing, and that any minute you can pick up the pen and you can start writing yourself into a new story. But in order to do that, in order to write yourself into a story where you're living a life of purpose, that you're surrounded by amazing relationships, that you're earning the kind of money you never even dreamed of. Because right now, if you've only ever made $60,000 a year, the fact that Tracy, we just heard, her highest month today is $128,000. If you've only made $60,000 a year, it's very, very hard to even imagine what's it like to make $128,000 in a month, right? Because we're not conditioned that way yet. But in order to condition ourselves, we've just got to realize that we are the author of the story. We do have the pen, and that your environment's going to play the biggest role, and the actions that you choose to take. So you can choose to take little tiny actions that are different. So for example, if you want to change your body, I know because I just went through a body transformation, that I have to make a decision to go to the gym every single day. And that's the decision. Or I'll do a cardio. I did a ride yesterday, 70 kilometers, right? But I have to get off my butt, and I have to get on the bike, or I have to get off my butt and drive to the car and go to the gym, or I have to walk downstairs to my gym, and I have to physically pick up those weights if I want to transform my body. But it was so hard because I spent a couple of years getting a little fat and a little podgy, and I didn't have a habit of working out. It wasn't in my mindset. So those first 30, 60, 90, 120 days, and forcing myself, investing in a personal trainer. If you don't have money, that's fine, but investing in a gym membership, and then becoming the person that does work out, having the kind of a body that people look at and say, oh, that guy must work out. That was a whole shift, and it took energy and effort, and it took mindset discipline. It took physical activity. It took me really immersing myself into the environment of a physical transformation. Now it's a habit. Now when I wake up, the first thing that goes through my mind is, hey, I got to go work out. It's not hard anymore. It was hard for a long, long time. And even when I'm busting it and I'm having my trainer kicks my butt, well, even those days when it's like I can't move my arms, I love it. I walk out of there and I can feel the twitch in my butt. I can feel right now. I can feel strength that wasn't there before. And that's exactly the same as this business. You know, we have to make a choice. We have to take those daily actions. And again, the actions are going to give us a result, and the results will give us feedback. So if you're not getting the results you want, then the actions you're taking aren't working. Plug into Tracy, plug into an event, and you're going to start to learn what kind of actions you need to take in order to get the results you want. There is no magic formula. Everyone listening right now, whether the 26 of you or 29 of you that are on the phone, or those of you on the video, right? Every single one of you can dramatically transform your life, but it's going to be the same for every single one of us. We're going to have to make a choice. We're going to have to take daily actions that we're not taking right now. We're going to have to notice what's working. what's working. We're going to have to make some adjustments. We're going to have to keep growing and learning. We're going to have to change the thought process in our head. In other words, negative thoughts don't live in Tracy's mind. I'm sure some come up. But if you're around someone like a Patty Cepeda, listen, a number one income earner, she doesn't have negative thoughts anymore, because she's conditioned her mind that she won't allow even people to talk negatively close to her. So if you're around Patty Cepeda's orbit and you start talking negatively, she's going to stop you, because she doesn't want one negative thought to live in her head. And as soon as it's in there, she gets rid of it and she starts to think about the life that she wants to create. And it's the same for all of us. And I think that I don't think many negative thoughts, and I certainly don't think negative thoughts about people. Occasionally I'll hear it, but what I've done is I've spent years, decades now, reconditioning, reprogramming my mind. So I live in a very positive mindset all the time. And people say, why are you so happy? Well, because I practice being happy. It's a mindset, and I like being freaking happy. You know, it's like a disease. Why is he always smiling, right? Because this is why I like, because life is succulent and it's delicious. And when we can start eating from a life that we've created, and we know that we can have anything we want, then life becomes interesting, really interesting. Because we move from this kind of robotic, kind of comfort zone, kind of half-ass living into something extraordinary. And then when we start changing lives, because ultimately the path always leads the same place. When you start living on purpose, life starts to change. And when life starts to change, you start feeling a calling to do more things that are extraordinary. And suddenly everything you do is extraordinary. And it may sound exhausting. I don't think it is. I think it's more exhausting to be apathetic. It's more exhausting to live a small life. It's more exhausting to be freaking broke. It's more exhausting to have 2, 3, 4 jobs. That's exhausting. But it's not exhausting to wake up and feel alive. It's not exhausting to feel that you're in control, that you have your hands on the steering wheel of life. That's not exhausting at all. That is exhilarating, and it just gets better every single day. But all of us started in the same place. We all started there, and it was hard in the beginning, and it got easier over time. But it got easier as we took more and more action. Ooh, I'm getting all excited here, folks.
I love it. And, you know, to piggyback on that, like, you know, it's one thing to, you know, get out of your comfort zone to get to wherever you want to go. And then you get there. And a lot of people were like, well, I'm there. I'm good. I'm just going to stand on autopilot without ever pushing themselves even farther. And I know that you don't operate like that. I don't operate like that. I always do the scary stuff first every day. Like you say, you know, if you give me a choice and they're both scary, I'm going to do both, because heck yeah, I mean, life is to be lived, and I want to keep growing myself. So I'm going to have to keep pushing that uncomfortable zone even bigger, like we talk about all the time. And so even though you have goals and you got your vision boards and a number, and, you know, that number above your head, I mean, I never envisioned the number that I have today. But I kept pushing forward, not because I wanted to up the number, but because I knew that that was a direct relation to people I was impacting. And so he's right. This isn't about me. This is about moving forward, keep pushing yourself. And as we go into that, you know, University in Action is no secret. It's my favorite Isogenics Core 4 event. I've been to like 8. And I'm always there. And I'm not just showing up saying, hey, I'm Tracy and Ellie. Hello, everybody, look at me. No, I'm there and I'm doing the work, and I'm grabbing new people and doing that. And I know a lot of people on this call have been to a University in Action. And then some of them will say, well, I've been to one, that's good. And, you know, as you grow as a leader, and I don't care how many stars and circles are in front of your name, it has helped me keep my skills sharp. It helps me, most importantly, as we go through and we become a little bit comfortable in this isogenics journey. Like, you never want to forget what it felt like when you were first starting out. And that event is...
Tracy, the other part of that is what you do, which I think is extraordinary. And everyone, if you just follow Tracy's lead, Tracy brought 73 people, I think, the last University in Action, you had 73 team members.
Oh, it was actually 150 at the Phoenix one, so... Oh,
100, sorry. I have to change my note. But that what you get is that it's not about you just being there. You are there, and you're always in the front row, and you're always doing the work. And it always surprises me, because I watch a lot of leaders come and they don't sit in the front row and do the work over and over and over again. But those that do seem to have great success, right? But what you're doing is you're modeling, you're showing every single person that you bring with you, and you're allowing the event to do the work with you and for you. And so because the event really works on those 3 key areas, which is belief, expectation, and skill set, what I found, I mean, even my ex, Jen went to 13 University in Actions in a row. And for a year and a half, almost 2 years, she just dabbled in her business. She just played at it. She didn't really believe that she could be successful. She never thought of herself as a professional network marketer. Now, I mean, she was able to retire from her work, and now she is a full-time professional network marketer, and she's still learning, she's still growing, but she makes more in a month now than she ever thought possible, and she lives an extraordinary life. But she really, she had to keep going, because, you know, you go once, and you pick up some stuff, but the next time you go, you're a different person, and especially if you stayed in action. But then you have a team behind you, and then they bring a team, and then they bring a team. I actually see a time where I'm going to be running University in Actions, and it's just going to be you and your team, because I can see that you're going to say, hey, Dave, I've got like 700 people or 1,000 people that I want you to come train. And I think that's really exciting, that you've got this idea of duplication, is using the events as a model of duplication, but also immersing each other in an environment where you can hang out together, but you're starting to crack the code in your mindset about what's really possible. Because again, go on.
Well, and with this event in particular, and not only do I sit in the front row and do the work because I want to grow myself, but quite honestly, you know, that is the type of leader I want to develop, and they're going to do what I do, not what I just say to do. So if I show up at the event, I sit in the back room, I'm texting, I'm like, yeah, I know this crap. You know, you guys go do it because I've already done it. Like, that's not the kind of leader I ever want to duplicate. So that is why I'm you know, setting the example. This is what I expect. I'm always early, and I'm always the last one to leave. And that's what leaders do. You know, I don't come running in last minute with coffee. You know, I'm the first at the door, I'm the last one to leave, and you know, your teams will do what you do and what you model. So make sure, and everything duplicates, even the really not so great stuff. So, you know, and as you grow, and you want to remember what it felt like to be brand new. And that event, when you're reaching people, and that's why you grab people you don't know. I mean, that is the best training you could ever get, is working with somebody that's brand new or somebody you don't know, to keep your skill sharp. I mean, how can you tell your team to go talk to people that they don't know if you're not willing to do it at an event where it's safe? Yeah. I mean, come on. So University in Action, honestly, is powerful. I'm coming to Kansas City. I can't wait. I think we've got a few people on this call that are coming to Kansas City. And, you know,
those that are coming, see how many people you can bring from your team. See how many other people you can bring. And that's really that'll be the game changer for you, is when you've suddenly got people in the audience who go, hey, I get this, and I want to do it with you. And sometimes it just takes one event, boom, and you'll suddenly have somebody who was kind of like a dabbling product user, who kind of once in a while speaks to someone who says, hold on a sec, I see this, I can do this. And that's what you want. You want people to go from I'm not sure I can to I can, that bridge of certainty. And when we can get them across that bridge, and that's what I think I'm pretty good at, is helping you get your people across the bridge. So if you're coming, how many other people will you bring with you? And that's the number one question on your mind right now. And remember, it's not going to make a difference to my life if you have 10 people or 100 people there. This isn't about me selling you an event because I make money on you coming. That's not how this works. This is about you bringing people that is going to grow your life, grow your business, and you're not going to do it alone. So I would say every single event, think about how many other people are. Even if you have to bring them in screaming and beating the floor sometimes you have to just give them a little nudge, get them in the door a little bit, and suddenly it's like, boom, they can see something they can't hear or see right now. And that's my job, to help you do that.
So we're talking about personal development and leadership and growing ourselves. And I'm really, really excited because next month I'm coming to Vancouver. I know we have a few people on this that are already, that I see them waving their hands, that are already coming to the Train the Trainer event. I am so freaking stoked for this. I love Vancouver. I love you. I love Colin James. And so, you know, for those that are on the call that maybe haven't considered it, or they're like, oh, I'm not there yet. What is that event about? Why should they be there, other than me and you being there? That's pretty awesome. I want to see everybody.
I hope you come visit my house while you're here as well. But okay, let's talk about this. So look, you know, train the trainer. Do you want to be a trainer? Well, let me just say that, look, you may not have no aspirations to ever train. But the truth is this, I use the stage as a metaphor. 75% of the people in the world are afflicted with the fear of speaking in public. And remember, a lot of you don't go and speak to people because of fear of rejection. That's a huge fear. So when I use the stage as a metaphor, in other words, it's like you could do a fire walk, you can do an arrow break, or you can start working on your skill set to be able to stand in front of people in public and be able to either present, train, or facilitate, to become a master educator. And let's be honest, what is a professional network marketer? A great professional network marketer are great educators. All right. And we have to be great in all mediums. We have to be great, you know, on a video. Like you can see how much I stare right into the camera. There's a technique that I want to connect with you. I want you to see I'm looking, or I could be looking at all your faces and be disconnected, right? Or I can be connected. But there's skills that we want to learn, because you're going to be doing home presentations. You're going to be doing small meetings. You're going to be doing larger meetings. You're going to be doing universities. You're going to be called to be on the stage like Tracy was in front of 16,000 people. So this is a real muscle that we want to build, and we want to constantly build it, not just because of us being in front of people. We want to build it because it's going to help and translate to how our confidence in the street, our confidence in the hair salon, our confidence when we start building these internal muscles, when we become a great communicator. And you think about, you know, Martin Luther King or Mahatma Gandhi, you know, you think of Oprah, you think of these great people. Imagine if none of them were able to really communicate their message. The reason why they've changed so many lives is because they were able to become great communicators. So Colin James is, I believe, one of the, I mean, if you know the story, I did a big leadership event in Australia, and I didn't know Colin James. And I heard about him, so I gave him an hour and a half at my event because I heard he was quite good. When I saw him on stage, he blew my mind, and he blew the entire audience's mind. He is unfreaking believable. He lives in Sydney. He is originally from South Africa, a world ambassador. So I was doing an event in Vegas. I immediately reworked my whole event, and I flew him in, and I had him the whole morning. I put him 5 hours. I took myself off the stage and put him on the stage. That's how good he is. And he is amazing. So I wanted to bring him to North America so I could expose him to all of you and share him with you at a 3.5-day transformational event called Train the Trainer, Amplify Train the Trainer. It's on September 25th to the 27th. We're having a special VIP day on the 28th. That's very, very limited seating. We're going to cap that right up. There's a few seats left where we can have more interpersonal stuff with Colin and I. And again, it really is working on becoming a master educator through presenting, training, and facilitation. And remember, presenting is the ability to fully engage and enthrall an audience. Imagine being able to engage and enthrall. Training is the ability to transform how people behave. And that's what you're in the job of. You're in the job of inviting people to come with you, and you want to change how they behave so they can have the life they want. So again, these skills are so transferable into every arena of your life, right? And then, of course, the facilitating, the ability to make learning easy and effortless, because, you know, this is a journey. And everyone who's going to learn to become a professional network marketer, they do find it hard in the beginning. So the better we are at transferring skills, the easier it is for our teams to start to grow and expand, right? And really what I want us to think about is to be able to create permanent change in people. And so part of this skill set you'll be learning, it's like I did. I had to learn these skills. I wasn't born with these skills. I physically went and learned these skills. I went to teachers like me, and I started to learn, and I started to develop my ability to communicate in all mediums. But what I want to see is permanent change in people. And each one of you want to see that permanent change in your teams. And again, the more we develop these skill sets, so the investment is $697 US. If you're Canadian, it's $697 Canadian. If you're Australian, it's $697 Australian. So it's just going to cost you $697. Whatever country you're from, we'll just charge you in your dollars. So that, again, if you're in a crappy exchange rate, I just think, again, you're the most important investment that you could ever make. You are the #1 investment over anything else. Invest in you. I just think that we're only doing one Train the Trainer program this year. If you can get to it, get to it. If you need to share a room, we have a Facebook page. And if you want, you can talk to Denise if you're interested. My assistant, Denise at amplifiedliving.com. Denise at amplifiedliving.com. Or amplifiedttt.com if you want to just go on, if you want to register, amplifiedttt.com. But Denise can help you with that. But the most important, again, for me, Tracy, is realizing that these particular skill sets about becoming a master educator is one of the critical skill sets that we really need in order to become a professional network marketer. It really is a critical piece.
it's interesting that you say that, David, because, you know, most of the people on this call and most of the people that are in Isogenics that know who I am, they just see what they see today. And what they don't understand was I was the girl that would dim my light because I didn't want to stand out. You know, I was a really good flute player, believe it or not. I played the flute and I was always asked to do solos. However, when it came time to audition for them, I had to do it from a closet because I was so petrified. And there were many times I backed out last minute because I just couldn't do it. I couldn't be in the spotlight. And so, you know, to be able to rewatch myself speak in front of 16,000 people, it blows my mind today. But what you said is so, so key. You know, I see people stand up and do presentations all the time. However, do they move people into action? Do they move people through a breakthrough? And one of the things that I know I have done as a result of coming to your events specifically and applying what I learned and growing myself and pushing myself to get on a stage when that, I never started any of this for that. I never wanted any of the spotlight. I don't want that. That's not why I do this. However, I realized very quickly that I have worked on this part of me. And when you do work on this part of you, your ability to influence people in a positive way is something that you should never, ever dim. And so, you know, when I go to your events and when I go to Train the Trainer, and I am so freaking fired up because after watching myself, I know where I need to tweak some things to make more of an influence in people, to help them change. Like, this isn't about you. You say, I know you guys on this call, you say you want to make a difference in the world. So you're going to have to make a difference for yourself. So please, please, please come join me in Vancouver. Come join David in Vancouver. Leaders go first. And honestly, this will be a game changer for you. Whether or not you want to stand on a stage in front of 16,000, I never wanted to. Or whether you want to stand in a living room, or whether you want to be that person like David was at that place in Vegas at my first event where you just walk out of a room and light is just there because that's who he is. He wasn't always that person. He had to work on some stuff. I know for a fact I want to walk into every room, any room I walk in, I want to be that light. Not for people to say, hey, look at me, but for people to be like, I want to be around that person because she just makes me feel good. And this event will help you do that. This event will help you, you know, get your people into action, not just give them lip service, not just have them, you know, plug into your team call and then they fold up the notebook and do nothing. You know, our greatest gift is our power of influence, in my opinion. And the only way that you can really, really work on that is to keep working on you, working on that. So.
And if I can, Tracy, I'd like to teach you one thing before we go. I know we're going to go soon. I appreciate everyone's time so much. I know how important time is. I hope you've taken something away. Again, internally, sometimes it just, you hear somebody else say something, it's like, boom, you know, I'm ready now. And that's hopefully what's going to happen for some of you, is that idea that you're ready right now. But there's a thing called a default mode. And especially if you've grown up in a life where, you know, you've had a sort of an employee mindset, is typically when you hear something great, the first thing that goes through your mind is, I can't afford it and I don't have the time. Those are the two big default modes. And that thinking, if you had that go through your mind, just journal it down, write down what went through your mind. And even if you're like, no, God, he's selling me, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what went through your mind. See if you can notice what your mind did to you. Because your mind's job is not to make you rich and happy. Your mind's job is to keep you in a comfort zone. Its job, and it's going to try and talk you out of things. That's why, otherwise, every single one of us would be rich and happy. If we had a mind that was like, hey, Dave, wake up. You're awesome. Come on, Dave. You're so sexy naked in front of the mirror. Wow, you're amazing. Imagine your mind talked like that every single moment. You'd be invincible. But the mind doesn't do that. The mind goes to a default mode. And it knows exactly how to trigger you into inaction. And so it's going to whisper something like, oh, you really don't have the time. You don't explore. The question would be, how do I make the time? How do I afford it? You know, and those are the things, is just to notice what happens when something is in front of you, capture what your mind does to you, and start reprogramming what it says. Instead of it saying, oh yeah, oh September, whatever it is, you're going to say, hey, I'm going to make this happen. How do I do it? Ask Tracy, listen, I need to make an extra $697. What's the fastest way I can do that? She'll say, well, this is exactly what you got to do. So every single person on the call can afford the money if you went out and you just invited a few people Boom, done. So it should never be an objection, but watch what your mind does. And this is a real teaching moment because your mind's going to trick you into inactivity, and it's going to trick you into living small. It's going to trick you into living inside your comfort zone. It's going to trick you into accepting a small amount of money. Your mind does that, right? And what your mind start doing is questioning and say, hey, this isn't what I want. I deserve more than that. I'm going to add a freaking 0 to that number above my head. Instead of $60,000 a year, I'm going to start making $600,000 a year. Who do I have to become to do that? Who do I have to attract? How do I have to show up? How do I have to speak to myself? And that's really one of those moments, Tracy, where a lot of people, their mind just takes over and pushes them back in the box.
Absolutely. And, you know, if you want something different, you're going to have to do something different. And I'm so grateful, David, that not only did you walk into my life that day in Vegas, because that was a game changer for me, to see somebody so just walk the walk they talk in this thing we call network marketing, because a lot of times we don't always see that. But I'm grateful that you have been so selfless with what you've learned through your own experiences, and you bring that into University in Action, into everybody that you touch, especially me as well. And my kids absolutely loved you. When we were doing our 90-day game plans as a family, my daughter's big thing was, when did people stop telling you you were beautiful, and when did you believe that? So your piece specifically touched one of my greatest things in the world. So I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for you pushing me all the time. You know, I'm just saying, Tracy, you're great, but helping me grow as a human, as a mom, as a leader, as a friend. And I'm really grateful that you took the time today to pour into all of us all over the world and into so many. And I can't wait to hug your face off in Kansas City first and then Vancouver. You're going to get sick of me in September. That's for sure.
Yeah, come by. I've got lots of spare rooms. Hey, listen, thank you, everyone. I know your time's important. Thank you, Tracy. I love you so much. And look, I look forward to our friendship. I do believe, I don't know what the capacity of friendship is, but I do believe that none of us have reached that capacity. And I look forward to our evolving friendships. And I mean that sincerely and deeply, is that this journey is one of great relationships. And, I do see our relationships. I'm talking about all of you on the call, our relationship evolving, like Tracy and I have become friends. And I look forward to spending time, and we keep talking about spending more time together, socially and just making sure that we really develop that friendship. And I just think that's part of this journey, is to really have amazing people in your life. So I look forward to that. And I look forward to seeing you at the University in Action. I look forward to seeing you at Train and Trainer. And again, just capture what your mind does to you and then fight it. Don't allow your mind to win this game, because if you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to keep getting what you've always got. So I love you.
Beautiful. Love it. I love you.
Hey, have a look outside. Look, this is where the fire was last night.
Oh, my goodness.
Can you see the planes are out there?
Oh, no.
The whole mountain caught fire last night. But the wind died and the rain started, and the elements almost put it out.
Is everybody okay?
Yeah, we didn't lose one life or one home, but it was really crazy for a while.
Wow, crazy. Well, thank you for getting up, and red eyes and all. You look amazing as always.
So. Red eyes. Beep. Ciao, everyone.
Bye, David. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.